My name is Kris Gethin, and what I aim to bring to you is inspiration, motivation from clients, everything that will allow you to evolve as a human being. Yo, what's up, everybody? This is the Kris Gethin podcast, live from Costa Coffee in Shoreditch in the UK. We've just been here for about 4 weeks. And we're
not in Costa Coffee.
Huh?
Not in Costa Coffee.
Oh, not in Costa Coffee. No. We've been in the UK for quite a bit of time, and off and on because we've been overseas as well. And now Sybil wanted to sit me down and ask me questions as part of the podcast, so I'm actually getting interviewed by my wife today.
Yeah, what's going on, guys? I'm coming out from behind the scenes because I thought this is a podcast I really want to do for you, because I think it could be really interesting. But before we get into it, I just wanted to say thank you to everybody who's been listening for the past 3 years, has it been, since we've been doing this podcast?
Yeah, probably more.
Yeah, no, we really appreciate you. Like, obviously this is something we do out of like a passion to get the information out, and appreciate your support. If you haven't had a chance to leave us a review, that is one of the best ways we can know that you like the show. So please take a minute and do that. But that's it.
Well, I was going to say, yeah, like a couple of times I've questioned whether we should carry on with the podcast, because it is something that we actually lose money on. We have an agency that we pay that does the editing, does the sound, all that sort of stuff. Sunshine puts a lot of time into it, and it's like, well, what are we doing it for then? You know, because obviously we have to put a roof over our heads, and it's because we have a passion for this. We like to put, content out, and if it's received, if the numbers keep going up in regards to the, the viewership, the listenership, then we'll keep doing. So keep tuning in, keep sharing, and get other people on the bandwagon.
Yeah, that's a good point. I mean, I think for content creators, the biggest form of currency is truly a like, a review, a share, some sort of just virtual acknowledgement that you are interested. Moving on into the podcast, this show for today, I had this idea in my mind while I was just observing how Kris works. Like, I really admire how he's able to just continue his job, aka everything that he does. It's not just Caged, it's not just his online coaching. He obviously has a ton of other businesses. We have a ton of other businesses, but he's able to just like get up and do it all the time without complaint. And I admire that in him, his leadership abilities to just get up and do it no matter where we are in the world. And it just made me think that there's a huge burden of leadership. There's a big weight. When people think, oh, I want to do this, I want to do that, they don't really think about the tasks that then come along with it. And I think this is not in any way a discouragement from becoming a leader, but it's just an acknowledgement that with leadership does come a ton of responsibility, and you can't really hide from it, especially when you become a leader. And I just wanted Kris to go through his burdens of leadership, especially these past few weeks where it's been go, go, go. Like, I'm going to sit down at one point and calculate how many miles we've actually walked and how many miles we've actually flown, and, where our feet have taken us, because I think we were all due for a foot massage. But in saying that,
I think I need a grinder to my feet to get rid of all the dead skin that's on it.
Yeah, but I just thought, what is it about leadership that you think sits heavily on your shoulders?
It's different, isn't it, for different industries? I think the burden, especially for people in this industry, is there's pressure to look a certain way, be a certain way, and if you don't look that certain way, even though that that you can, sometimes there's something that holds you back, and maybe it's the burden of leadership because you're trying to provide discipline, motivation, accountability to so many people, and you don't. You leave yourself last. I always say to my clients, I'm like, well, look after number one first. Prioritize yourself instead of giving yourself to so many others, because then you'll be able to provide more to others when you prioritize yourself. And I find myself in a position where I don't prioritize myself at all. Maybe I want to prioritize fun, which isn't a bad thing. However, in a balance, in a way that it can turn out to be a bad thing. You know what I mean? So then you deal with the shame, you deal with the pain, the anguish, And it isn't always apparent because a lot of the time you don't share it. If you're one of those people that's more of an introvert, you don't share a lot of the stresses or the pain or the anxiety. You just bottle it up, and then you question, why am I fucking doing this, and whatnot. And so it's a constant battle every single day. You know, it's like some people have to battle with depression every single day. Some people have to battle, let's say if they were an alcoholic and then 15 years later they're still sober, but they're still battling it every day. So some people have to, battle that with leadership, especially in this industry, and especially with social media, where you have to look a certain way. Like, I think when I was a bodybuilder, it didn't matter because I'm like, hey, it's off season now. I need to pack on as much muscle as possible. So body fat goes up and it's normal. It's accepted. That's how people do. But now the industry has changed so much over the past 10 or 12 years. People are in shape all year round. And it puts a lot of pressure on people. And I'm one of those people that's kind of all or nothing. So sometimes I will go, what's a word? Because, psychologists will say soothing. And what's a word that I use? The opposite. It's the same as that, but it's not soothing. It's not sacrifice. God, I can't remember now. It'll come to me anyway. Yeah. But where you just push yourself further and further and further and further away from your goal. Sabotage. Yeah, sabotage. Like, I call it sabotaging. Psychologists will use the word soothing. So I'll tend to sabotage myself from my goals to get further and further and further away from it, so then I can go all on. So it's all nothing, and then I deal with the anguish, the pain, the shame, the embarrassment, the frustration, the anger, and then go all in where now I've got purpose. And I think the key is just to try to find a balance, man. And it's difficult finding that balance when you're always trying to give to others. But everybody handles it differently. You say the burden of leadership. Some leaders will probably go, what fucking burden? So everyone's different.
Well, yeah, of course everyone's different. But, being in the fitness industry, and you're right, your body is your advertisement, right? Like, how you look is basically what people see as what they can achieve, if not just a fraction of it. I know I look at a ton of other women out there who have insane bodies. And I remember I asked you, I'm like, well, what do I need to do to get that? And you're like, well, are you ready to run 100 miles a day? Are you ready to
100 miles a day?
Well, really put in the work.
I'll put in the work, yeah.
Like every single day.
Failure.
Yeah, go crazy. And it's like, oh, I don't know, maybe not every day. Then, okay, you're not going to get that body, because that's how these people push themselves. But you can only push yourself like that to a certain point. And you're one of those people who has pushed yourself really, really hard in the gym. And obviously you've been able to create a successful business around it. But now, dealing with some injuries, which of course is not allowing you to train as you should or as you want to, is that part of the burden, you would say, of leadership in regards to you feel you need to look a certain way to keep your audience motivated, and yet you're struggling with motivation yourself because now, you're injured and you have to actually sit still. That's what you really should be doing, is just being in recovery.
Yeah, I have been in recovery, really, though. I haven't done anything for the past couple of months, have I? I haven't really trained. But the thing is, during that time, let's say if I've got a client that deals with injury, and I've dealt with injuries, God, since childhood, where it's okay, now you've got to be even more on top of your nutrition and supplementation. And I've struggled with that because now I've got injury. Like I said, that sabotaging molecule in my brain has gone, okay, fuck it. Let's just destroy yourself, and with your health, with your body fat levels, and just get out of shape. And it's like Simon Fan said to me yesterday, "Geez, you've lost size." Didn't bother me, but he instantly followed that up with, "You're about to do a transformation," because he kind of knows that's what I do. Is I'll kind of sabotage myself to a certain degree just to get into a bad shape. And it's usually because of injury. And it's not as if injury has prevented me from being in shape. It's just I use that as that starting point to unravel everything. It's kind of weird. I don't know why my brain works like that, but it does.
Yeah, and sorry if you hear the grinding of the coffee right now. We're obviously in Costa. So.
Hello. Call him in.
Can you stop making coffees for a second while we do this podcast? But, it's funny we were talking about a podcast, this is another thing about like being a leader. If you're going to have a show, you actually have to like do a show. And sometimes you have to do it in a coffee shop. Sometimes you have to do it on a train, because that's kind of the thing. It's like you have to keep your work going no matter how you feel. And I think that's that's one of the things that I noticed, that you've been able to do really well, even though there is this stress that is surrounding all of that. Not only just like physically, mentally, everything else. But we wrote down a few points that I thought, I don't know if you wanted to talk about any of these in particular, where there's a lot of situations that we get into where we have no choice but to be a leader. Like, no matter how much you want to kick and scream and throw a tantrum and say, fuck this, get someone else to do it. Like, all of a sudden, you're like, I have to do this. For example, when we got that flat tire on our way to the gym, which totally put a complete spanner in our day. Like, I took some photos because I was like, you know what? We don't ever take photos of these moments that aren't sexy. These moments where we're like, hands are on our head.
Sorry.
We're calling our dad and saying, what do we do? What do we do right now? Can you go us through that day and what was going on in your mind and how you're able to really come out of that as a leader?
This is just a normal day-to-day thing, I think. This is, isn't it? We just had a flat. I went to change the flat, but unbeknownst to me, that there's no spare wheels now in the UK in these cars. I was speaking to Dad about it. I was like, what the hell is that all about? And apparently it's supposed to save on gas because now the car's lighter, saves on space, it's cheaper for the car manufacturers. I'm like, that is dumb. So that was the frustration more than the actual flat. It's like, there's no freaking spare. They just put a mousse in there. Like, I've used mousse when I was racing enduros. It'll fix a small hole, but it ain't going to fix a split. But anyway, I don't really know much to say about that. I feel that we've jumped quite a bit here.
Oh, have we?
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah.
Well, let's go back then.
Okay, but I don't know what to say about that, really. It's just like, okay, it is what it is. Good to wait for the AA. It's just frustrating that the AA would say, we'll be there by this time, and then they call an hour later, say, oh, it'll be 2 more hours. So just sit there and just piss in the arcade shaker bottle if you've got one. Not that I did that.
You did.
I didn't. I ran to the bloody pub, didn't I?
That is true.
Now, while we can't imagine drinking coffee loaded with toxic chemicals, we unknowingly use skincare products that could be having a negative effect on our health as well. So things such as parabens, phthalates, silicone, carcinogens can disrupt our endocrine system and have been known to cause various forms of cancer. So it's a murky world to navigate as it is. So why add skincare products to the list that can cause you harm? So make sure that you are checking each and every label to ensure that the words non-toxic are written all over it. And that's definitely what you're going to find with visual chemistry skin labels. And their skincare products are gluten-free, cruelty-free, all vegan, paraben-free, sulfate-free, silicone-free, talc-free, carcinogen-free, and they're eco-friendly. And I've been using this line for many, many years, and I often get, I get compliments to say that I look a lot younger than 47 years old. So I'm going to continue to use them. So your skin deserves the best, and shop for the products that I use by looking for the G stack on the Visual Chemistry Skin website. So that's exactly what I use every single day. The mask I'll use on a weekly basis, but everything else I use every day. So use the code GETHIN20, that's GETHIN 20, to save 20%.
Well, I think the whole point of all this is that, like, there are so many times when you become a leader that you don't really want to be in that leadership position sometimes, and yet you have no choice.
Yeah, because one of the things you've noticed every single day while we've been here traveling here at Romania or whatever, I'm still doing my check-ins with clients every single day. Mm-hmm. They send me via WhatsApp if they're a VIP Plus client. What they ate that day, what time, if they had any issues, were there any cheats, did they go to bed late, were they lacking in hydration, whatever. So I've got those check-ins every single day with clients, so you can't switch that off. And that's the hard thing being in this position. Yeah, get emails a day, whether that be from Healthcare Caged or whatever. But when you've got those check-ins with clients every single day, it doesn't matter if you've had a bad day, it doesn't matter if you're struggling for Wi-Fi or connection, you somehow have to make it. You somehow have to show up because you know your clients are actually relying on you. And you've been in a position of being a client. Like you want some security, you want some help. So that's the hard part, and that's a burden in itself because you can't switch that off. That message comes in, you need to respond.
Right. So it's kind of like almost like be careful what you sign up for. Like, are you ready to really take this on?
Yeah. Well, that's what we do. That's our job, isn't it? That's what we've signed up for. I don't want to be working in Clark's putting shoes on smelly feet. So, I see that like you either deal with the burden of that leadership or you deal with the burden of some type of failure. You don't have, the life that you want. You don't have the house that you want. You don't have you're not able to travel. I prefer to deal with the burden of my job, because you do take it for granted sometimes, but I have to keep thinking all the time. Can't take this for granted. This is a great job. This is something that gives you purpose. You enjoy it. It's the industry that you want to help people in.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point, and it's something that we all can learn from, no matter like what industry we find ourselves in. Because I think one of the biggest aspects of what you're doing, not only in fitness, in your work life too, is the consistency aspect, is the showing up when you don't want to. It's being present when you don't want to, and just finding ways to overcome that feeling of like, I don't want to. You talk about it all the time in the gym of like, well, it doesn't matter if you don't want to, you still do it. And yet we forget that that's really the trend that needs to happen in our lives too. Like, we need to show up even when we don't want to. And we need to do that in our careers as well, because I think it could be easy sometimes to like you said, take what we are doing for granted and just be like, oh yeah, this is just our life, blah, blah, and not really think about how special it is that we aren't putting shoes on, we don't work in a shoe shop, which no disrespect to those people, but that's not, what the life that, like, if that's not the life you want, then you need to create the life you want, right? And if we're living the life we want, then we need to be so grateful for that the day isn't a drag just because we're tired, just because we stayed out late, just because maybe we couldn't find the food we wanted or whatever. I think that there's an expectation to honor, the position you're in, and just continue to have fulfilled or to fully feel gratitude on it.
Yeah. I totally agree 100% with that. The one thing that I asked in the seminar yesterday in regards to appreciation, if you were to take away the position that you hold in life right now, whether that be your job, the house that you live in, the relationship that you're in, if you were to remove that, you'd probably really crave that. However, because you're living in it right now, you're craving someone else's life. You look at someone else who's really successful, maybe it's a friend of yours, it's like, damn, my life sucks. So you have to take yourself back like 5 years, 10 years, 20 years and go, okay, I crave the position that I'm in right now. I should really, really appreciate it more. And I think the more that you talk about it and think about it, the more you acknowledge it, and then you have to be in that moment to appreciate it. I speak to psychologists. I'm not needing a psychiatrist and medication yet.
Not yet.
But psychologists on a weekly basis, and that really helps. Like, she's really, 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 really good. But I think just talking about certain worries, certain stresses, whatever causes you stress, anxiety, whether it be superficial or subconscious, really helps you appreciate and be in a moment. And it's something that you have to work on, like I said, every single day. I read books to help myself pretty much every single day. A lot of the time I'd like to pick up an autobiography, but I'm like, okay, this is a part in my life that I have to put the autobiography down, and I have to work on some, self-help and work on that. We all go through ebbs and flows in our life. So you have to go through the different types of ebbs and flows of the books or the education or the people that you talk to help you get out of those holes in life.
You bring up a really good point, because, part of being a leader is the fact that you need mentorship as well. And I think that's something that can easily be overlooked, that, yeah, and not just like a business coach, but like a mind coach, somebody to help kind of unravel like the mental knots we form in our minds that just need to get smoothed out every once in a while, just like getting a massage. We need to like release that tension that's built up in our mind to help us think straight. And the fact that like you are seeing a therapist is good, because it's something that like most men don't do because of some unfortunate stigma that's in our society. But as a leader, you need somebody to help you that's outside of your social circle, that's not your wife or your partner or your mother or anybody like that, that has like a complete degree of separation or a few degrees of separation from you. And then on top of that, like you talk about, like you read books, you listen to podcasts, you're constantly filling your mind with something that can help continue to fill your cup. Because while you're sitting there helping other people's cup get filled, you need to fill yours. And I mean, besides that, like what other things do you do to help literally like strengthen yourself as a leader, so that when you do feel the weight of leadership, you have these strategies and these tools to fall back upon?
The one thing is that I'm a psychologist and psychiatrist for other men out there that do the hip thrusts in the gym, because I see them doing it in gyms, mostly in Boise, not around the world. And I'm like, you need help. Why are you doing hip thrusts? You're a man. But no, I digress. I think the main thing for me is training. The weight training has always been therapy for me. I've never, when I was competing in bodybuilding, even though I did well as a natural bodybuilder, I never enjoyed being on stage. I never enjoyed removing the hair, the tanning, and like the carb depletion, the water manipulation, all that shit. I hated that. I used to get very nervous before I went on stage, and that would always fuck up my condition because my body would just flood with water subcutaneously because of the nervousness. But the training has always been very therapeutic for me, and that's helped me be much better in what I do in life. I handle my anger issues a lot better, my temper. I used to have a horrendous temper. And I think training just is a big part of that. So if I'm facing any sort of adversity, within business or in life, I'm able to handle it a lot better. I need to continue working on it because I'm not anywhere near perfect. But that's a big part of it. So I think, when I do get injured, that's why in the past I've gone to Ironman, because I'm like, freaking hell, I can't train now. I've torn my shoulder. I'll do Ironman. I need to do something, some sort of physical activity and output. And that's, they've shown in studies in prisons, when they've put gym setting in a prison and they've given them some sort of physical activity, they're able to rehab so much better. You can't have all this pent up energy. We saw what happened over the past couple of years when the world shut down. People were locked up. Suicide rates went through the roof. There was no activity, no sunlight, no movement. People need to freaking move. And the unfortunate thing is people go, but I don't feel like moving. I don't give a fuck if you feel like moving. You don't do what you feel. You do what you have to do. If you do what you feel like doing, I spoke about this in the seminar yesterday. By the way, we did a seminar in Birmingham, if I'm referring to that. Is that if you keep doing what you feel like doing, then you'll always sit in your ass. You'll watch Netflix. You'll order from Amazon. You'll just do nothing. You'll eat. You'll be in the pub chasing women. You have to do what is needed to do, what you need to do. Life is not supposed to be comfort, 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 comfort. However, we've created this comfortable world, and because of it, we're losing our purpose, our leadership on ourselves, and being a man, or being a female, or whatever. That role is kind of gone a little bit skew-if over the past 10 years or so, and our environment has changed, and because we contort to that environment, it's kind of changing our DNA, even though our DNA shouldn't be bloody changing. But it's like we cannot keep up with the world. The changes of the world we cannot keep up with. We saw people in the lift yesterday, and there's like, I can't figure out the lift because you have to put your key into the slot when we're in a hotel in order to do that. There's elderly people out there just cannot keep up. Like if they come into a coffee shop like this and they have to download an app, they're like, app?
Yeah.
But it's the same, with the youngsters as well. There's just too much happening too quickly, and it's having a negative effect on our psychology, I think.
Yeah, no, it was fascinating to see that. And I'm like, God, I hope that we can continue moving with the times. I mean, we could be like Madonna, just continue evolving lifetime after lifetime. And I think that's one of the benefits, the strengths of being a leader, and that comes with the burden of leadership, is that continual need to evolve and transform. I think you can't just, look at all the leaders that decided they weren't going to change. They didn't continue. And I think that's a big testament to what you're doing. And so I really want to just say you're doing a great job. And it's really inspiring for me too, to see how you're able to hold that weight. And we're calling it the burden of leadership. It's not really a burden because it's enjoyable. But it's just something where you feel the weight of being the leader. You feel the weight of having a team around you and needing to be able to be on top of it yourself. And I think we can all learn a ton from that, especially no matter what fields we do, whether we're just a supervisor or manager, whatever, we're all leaders in our own right. We don't necessarily have to be leading a company. We could be leading our households. It doesn't matter. And it's are we doing a good job keeping that weight on our shoulders in a balancing way so that it doesn't overtake us? So we're probably going to have to get going to get to our other location. But anything else you want to add?
No, it was a good conversation. I actually prefer talking to you via podcast and actually in person. I feel like I can say more and be a little bit more transparent, be a little bit more sincere. But yeah, we're heading over to Be Superhuman now and go and get some biohacks in before you fly to Luxembourg and before I fly to LA. So going to get NAD drip in, maybe some glutathione for you.
Yeah.
And then hyperbaric oxygen, cryo, whatever else we feel like doing.
Yeah, so if you haven't seen this on Kris's socials enough, Be Superhuman in Upminster, and is it Buckhill?
Yeah.
Buckhurst, excuse me. Definitely contact Jag and go in there and get yourself optimized. So thank you guys so much for listening. We again just appreciate you, and thank you for listening to all these words that we've just said right now.
Yeah, thank you very much. And please do like, comment, and subscribe if you're viewing this. If you're listening to this, please share it. We do want to keep the lights on for you. Okay, so thank you very much. Peace.
And remember to go shopping for my G-Stack. Go to www.visualchemistryskin.com. Thank you ever so much for listening. My name is Kris Gethin, and I am out.